This is Career Builder Toolkit TV, Episode 4. We're going to talk about the calendar. And I refer to my calendar as the benevolent dictator, and we'll kind of explain that in a moment. But I'm filming here in my kitchen. This is one of my favorite places. It's where I start my day. It's right here by the coffee pot. If you've read my blog on toolbox.com for any period of time, you know coffee plays a big part at the start of my day. And while I've cut back quite a bit, still love my coffee every morning. So because we're talking about starting of the day and scheduling, the start of your day is the first thing on your schedule, or I hope it is, and that's kind of what we're going to talk about. One of my favorite characters of American history is Ben Franklin. I've written about him quite a bit, and I've used this phrase or this quote from him often as well, which is, "Dost thou love life? Then do not squander time, for it is the stuff life is made of." And I want you to think about that, because that's all life is a series of moments one after the other. And once they're gone, you can't recoup them. Okay, they just become memories. So we want to control our time as much as possible to be as effective or productive as possible. And I extend that all the way to things like casual time. You know, I think another quote that I don't know who it's attributed to is, "Spontaneity has its time and place." And the reason I focus so much on a calendar is because if I don't, I'm one of those people that will immediately get sidetracked into other things. And so a calendar has become very important for me to be as productive as possible, and I put almost everything on it. So we're going to cover a few key things about your calendaring system, and I'll let you know what I use. But understand, it's not about X system versus Y system being the best. I know people, and I've used a Covey planner, Franklin planner. I think they're great. And then I know they have a software system that goes with it, day timer, simple journal. And so that's the first thing, is that the system itself is not important. It's not as important. You can always find a better system or a system that works for you better, but having a system is critical. You need to have some kind of system. And any system is better than no system. Now, what I try and do is I try and start my week setting my entire week ahead of time. So Sunday evenings is usually when I review my calendar for the entire week. And I try and block out as much time as possible very specifically. I want to know which days I'm working on X projects. And there's a couple reasons for that. I share my calendar with Frida, who works with me on sales and marketing. She's a business partner of mine. And she needs to be able to see my calendar to set specific appointments. And if I don't block out my time, even my time for project work, or my time for running errands, or my time for just kicking back and relaxing during the day, if that's what I'm going to do, then she can take that time and she can actually put things on my calendar. So I need to be careful about blocking out my time. I don't always do a great job of it, but it is important to do. So Sunday nights, early Monday mornings, whatever works for you, but you want to have a time you review your calendar and you start to block out time. That's really critical. Give yourself a buffer on that time. You know, you need 15 minutes prior, you need 30 minutes prior, you need drive time. You know, people often don't include that. And so include buffer time before and after, because things often go longer or something comes up. And so you want to make sure you're not so tightly scheduled that one setback pushes your entire day off. So we want to be careful about including buffer time. Keep appointments to yourself. And this is kind of a critical one, because particularly in consulting, you'll have clients call you and they'll want your time right then. And there's an inclination to say, well, if I'm working on something that's just for my business, maybe some marketing material, or maybe I'm writing something that, you know, a plan for something in the future that I've scheduled, but they come in and they're calling it an emergency, but it's not, their business isn't down, then you don't want them to trump that time. Don't always let them take over that time. Your appointments, even to yourself or to your family, are critical appointments. You've got to keep those. So those are some key points. Now, I use Google Calendar, and I do it for a number of reasons. It integrates really well with my Droid phone, my smartphone. Also, Google Calendar has some great ways to remind you of things that aren't contingent upon my computer being on. I can have emails sent to me. I can have text messages sent to any phone. I can set numerous reminders on a given calendar item. The other reason is, I mentioned it prior, I share my calendar with Frida and with others. So Google works great for that. It's always available. And actually I have multiple calendars that I manage under Google. I have calendars for my kids so I can see their schedule overlapped with different colors and with other people I work with. So it makes it really easy for me to see just my calendar or calendars of those I'm working with overlap. So that's the reason I use Google Calendar. Also, they have a relatively effective set of tasks. Their Google task list works pretty well and integrates as well with your calendar. Those are things I use, and I'll show you more Google Calendar later. I may have a link to a tutorial I've done right here in the blog, and I'll make sure I do that. I'll have a link in the blog to a tutorial I do on using Google Calendar and Google Tasks. And so that'll give you an idea of how you might use that tool or adopt a similar strategy for any calendar you're currently using. Now, what I'd love to have you do is, if you're going to leave a comment, let me know your ideas on calendaring and scheduling. Let me know the tool you're using and what you found to be really effective. I think that would be very helpful to others who are viewing the blog or reading it. So what calendar are you using, and what have you found effective? What would you like to see in a calendaring tool? There's always optimizations we can have. And then finally, continue spreading the word. Leave comments. I'm really appreciating getting some questions. I got a great email from somebody a couple days ago asking about business development and developing a consulting business. So that's actually prompted some upcoming episodes that we'll be including. But let others know, and let me know what you think and what would you find helpful.